That's how if-else statement works. So move to methods. Basically, there are some methods that are already predefined that are located in Java library. We can just use them directly as long as we just import the packages. For example, the math, the methods that's in math class. The first one, math.power phi1, which means it will return a double at phi to the 1th power, which is phi. But the power method will return a double, so it will automatically convert the integer phi 5.0. And for and the add value, sorry, and the other methods like absolute value, it will return the absolute value of the results that in the parentheses. In this case, 3.3 minus 5 equals to -2, and it will return +2. And the third predefined method in the math class that's pretty common is square root. So the square root 4, it will return a double as well, just like the power. And the first one is very special method. It will return a constant. So if you want to get the exact value of pi, you can just type out, you can just initialize x in double x equals to math.pi. It will store the exact value of pi into the variable you want to store. Okay, so as an example of predefined method is print line method, and it's a pretty popular method that so it's pretty common, and we just use it to print out messages in the console. So there are some other predefined methods, but those methods are limited. We need to create our own methods. So how can we create our own methods? So for creating a method, we need a modifier, return type, the name of the method, parameter list, and the method body. Let's take a look at this example. First, public class example mean number. So public is a modifier. Oh, this is a class name. So we will take a look at this mean function method. So public static, those two are modifiers. Sometimes we can just ignore the static. This is optional. So we can just public int. So the first part is modifiers. It defines the access type of the method, and it is optional to use. So in Java, by default, the attributes and the methods are set to public. So we can also use private and int mean function as well. But in this case, it's public. So the second element of a method is a return type. We can have a return type, have like integer, double, string, or we can return nothing. So it's called a void return type. We will see that in the next slides. So, and the third part is the name of the method. In this case, it's mean function and the parameter list. So in the parameter, we can have some variables to pass pass to receiving the numbers or the reference, or we can have nothing. And we will see an example in the following slides as well. Okay, so that's parameter lister. And the part that inside this bracket is just the body of the method. So it's just tell this method to do something. Okay, let's take a look at the main method in this class. So it just declare A, B to 11 and 6. And then it create C and call this main function, parentheses A, B. So here it will pass the value of A to the parentheses in the main function, which means it will pass A to N1 and it will pass B to N2. Therefore, N1 will come to 11 and N2 will become to 6. So instead of this body, it will declare an integer mean, but it doesn't give the mean and value. Then is a conditional statement. If N1 greater than N2, if 11 greater than 6, which in this case is not, so we just jump to else. So mean equals to N1. Sorry, in this case, 11 greater than 6, so mean will set to 11. So N1 will have the value of A, which is 11. N2 will have the value of B, which is 6. So in the condition checking part, 11 is not greater than 6. So it will jump to else. It will set a mean to N.
Wait, Leo, I think you, so 11 is greater than 6. So
yes.
It would execute the if statement.
Yes. So the mean will be set to 6. So it will return to the 6. Therefore, C will be set to 6. So it will print out the mean value equals to 6. That's how we use a method. If we're using a method inside of this class, inside of the same class, we just need to call the method name and then the parameters. But if we're using a method outside of a function, for example, like here, we're calling .power method outside of the math class. So we need to add the class name math.power in order to access the method. Okay, so let's take a look at the method with no parameters. For example, toString method is a pretty common method that's almost in every classes. So even you don't define a toString method, it will have a default toString method within a class. So in this case, it defines the toString class. It just return a string. So you can say in this case, the public is a modifier, the string is the return type. Here is return a string. And toString is just the name of the method. And there is nothing inside of the parameter. So if we want to call this toString, we just use .toString here. We just use .toString and with parameters contains nothing. And it will simply return a string. And the other example is passing by reference. So here we have simple Apple class. So here, let's take a look at the main method. So first, we create an object, an apple object. Then we will print out the color of the apple. Then we are calling this change apple method. So here, let's take a look at the method. We got two modifiers, and the return type is void. So this is an example of return nothing. We simply just using this method to do something, but returns nothing. So we just put void here. And the name is just change apple. And apple. So the first apple is the name of the class. It's right there. And the second apple is the name of the object. Here, it declares apple. The second apple is just the name of an apple object of the apple class, which is capital A. It's a little bit confused, but the apple inside of this parenthesis will have the reference which will have the same reference as the apple that passing into this change apple method. So in this case, it will create an apple object and pass the reference, which is the address of the apple object, into this change apple method. Then it will change the color of this apple object to green. So it will print out the color again. And the results, the first result, it will print out to red, which is original color. And after calling the change apple method, it will print out the green, the color green. So that's how, so we got, so in CSE110, we only have passing by value, which is in the previous example, and here is passing by reference. And it's quite important to understand how those passing things works.